Welcome to Rainfall, our weekly series on book topics, fiction book topics of all shapes and sizes. This week we're discussing bad book titles. Yes, we're judging a book by its title. And it's fair because some books are so shockingly, or the titles are so shockingly bad, they make you stop and turn your head in the book aisle. And it's not stopping in a good way. It's really looking at something and seeing it for what it is. Obvious exploitation, obvious just mediocrity. And then you can verify that assumption if you want to and read the back of the book. But we're picking out 3 books each, and we're going to say why these books really should have reconsidered their title before they went to print.
Yeah, Josh, actually, I'm going to break the rules here, and I probably have a slew of books here on my list. So I may mention more than 3 names, but it'll come around to making 1 point. So what was your first book title?
Well, the thing that inspired me, or rather just uninspired me to do this topic, was one book called Kill, Sex, Marry, and not in that specific order. Maybe it's Marry, Sex, Kill. And I looked at that and said, why would you take these 3? You know, it's like Jerry Springer title. It's an obvious headline that's just meant to sit here and make you turn your head and say, huh. And if you read the description, it's a basic revenge tale. It deals with magical superpowers to get revenge on anybody you want to obviously have sex with anybody you want to. And I was just pretty disgusted by the title in general. And I was looking at it and saying, yeah, it's Sex, Marry, Kill by Todd Travis. And even though it's not about anything related to Gone Girl, which is a famous story just about a bad relationship, and it was by Gillian Flynn, but it seemed to me that it was just meant to, again, shock you and grab your attention. So I thought it was completely tasteless, and it deserves probably not a second look.
Josh, I'm going to pick on the titles for most John Grisham books. Now, the caveat to this is we have read books by outstanding authors that are 1-word titles or maybe 2-word titles, but I think you're going to see a pattern here with John Grisham books. The Litigators, The Racketeer, The Confession, The Partner, Rogue Lawyer. These are the most uninspired titles that I have ever seen. I don't remember if I've ever read a John Grisham book. I just feel like it's a lot of the same old. He's certainly making his money off of a formula, and none of those titles draw me to them. Sometimes I'll pick up his books and look at it because it has interesting artwork, and that goes a long way for me. But The Litigators, well, what? I can pick up Stephen King's book, The Wasteland, and looked at it as part of his Dark Tower trilogy, and that's very intriguing to me. 2-word title. But this is a standalone book. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know if he has a series of characters he talks about, but I need something more than all of your books to be titled The This and The That. And then occasionally I get The Innocent Man. Oh, there's 3 words.
Hey, isn't The Firm one of John Grisham's novels, or is that?
Probably. That sounds about right.
He picked some good nouns, and he has a following.
The Sidewalk.
The House. You know what? That actually leads us into our next book, The House of Size. No, not tall, short, big, little, fat, skinny. This is size, like, and that's what this book made me want to do, was sigh, because I was like, okay, this is obviously a horror book, obviously, with the book cover. We're not going to even warrant these books by showing their book covers, but The House of Size by Aaron Dries, and that's no joke. It's by Aaron Dries. It's not even about a house. It's about a crazy bus driver, and he won't let the passengers off, and he's going to kill them. I kid you not. Read the whole description, not 1 word of a house. So it wasn't even descriptive or even close in the ballpark to what the book's about. So that in itself, I don't know if it's a cardinal sin, but it was just so lazy. And I was like, okay, next. And your point about John Grisham, he has a fan following. There's a certain expectation
of
what his books are about. So he was a full-time author that he made his career, and he was allowed to maybe have some symmetry. Maybe this was a brand. So totally different story. No pun intended, but totally different concept. Maybe that was his brand, and he could sit here and come up with a series of similar titles that, you know, kind of was his thing. And maybe people, aspiring authors, just don't get what that context was. They don't get that that was a thing, his thing, and they're trying to copy that. So anyway, good point on John Grisham. We love him. We're going to read him, I think. Did he did the Odd Thomas series, or is that someone else?
I'm really not sure. Like I said, I think I may have read one of his books one time. I don't really have anything against John Grisham, so I'm not attacking him. But argue,
we are going to read him. We are going to read him. Odd Thomas.
That you just made, I would say this: Tom Clancy, who also could be considered maybe kind of formulaic. We know what he likes to write about. He has a series, and he has characters that you see throughout his series, but look at this. He's got titles like Red Storm Rising. I think that's the right one. Rainbow Six. He's got some titles that I think are much more interesting. Now, I'm not saying that's for all of his books, but I think you can do it. I think you can have your thing you write about, and you make interesting titles. The next author I'd like to talk about, and I have definitely read some of this guy's stuff, is Dean Koontz. Again, nothing against Dean Koontz, but some of the titles, again, The City, Watchers, Innocence, you know, The Lamp. I mean, I made that one up. But no, okay. I made that one up. But my point is, again, we're back to these titles that Watchers. Well, okay, you know, maybe he's got good cover art on his book, so I pick it up and check it out. Maybe I look at the back, but again, I think very uninspired. But I didn't mind Dean Koontz as much.
He is who we're going to read. We're not reading John Grisham. We're reading Odd Thomas eventually. He's on our to-read list. So forget what I said earlier. That's not John Grisham. But Odd Thomas is Dean Koontz. And you're right. Maybe it's because these guys, you know, had a career. This was a different time in the age of publishing. And these days, you know, just like in the news media, people, you know, you have to have good titles for movies, for news headlines, for any published work. And I just think you've got to consider it. So, you know, you have to really, you know, not shortchange your audience. Consider the title. And so if it's a different game these days, or if you just got to put some type of a different, you know, idea into your title, do it. The last book to wrap us up is A Dance of Dragons. No, not the George R.R. Martin 5th book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. That's a dance.
Is that ballroom dancing?
It is. It is ballroom dancing, because it's a blatant ripoff of A Dance with Dragons, which is the 5th book in the Song of Fire or Ice and Fire. I can't talk. Our series. But The Dance of Dragons by Caitlin Davis, it's just a blatant ripoff. She's basically trying to make money off of, you know, the whole TV series for Game of Thrones, which is also what the Song of Ice and Fire is known as. So it's really kind of annoying, because it's just such a blatant ripoff, and it uses a bad preposition. A Dance of Dragons sounds like ballet dancing.
Yeah, man, this is like the cheap B or C list movie house that produces a movie that sounds very similar to the theatrical release, usually a month before the theatrical release.
I see those awesome on Redbox, yes. Well, I think we've about hashed this out. We might have to bring these offenders of bad book titles back later. But thanks for discussing. We love John Grisham. We love Dean Koontz and all good authors who have bad titles. We're just we're picking out the ones that are trying to make $1 on Amazon. Don't do it. Thanks for talking, John. Catch you next time.